Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you how to run my harness to go from a factory halogen taillight to the factory LED taillights as shown right here. So first thing you're going to want to do is pull the taillight housings, and there's two T25 Torx screws here. So you want to undo these two screws on both sides and then pull the light straight back, because it's hooked onto the body in two spots on the side here. If you pull straight back on it, it'll pop it right out. Then you can disconnect everything. My harness, you're gonna connect to the factory wiring. There's one connector that's just 2 position wires, and the other one is a 3 position. Now the connector I use is not the factory connector to connect to the 3 position wire, because that's virtually impossible to find. So the one I have, you got to make sure that you connect it properly. So the easiest way to do that is there is one ground wire on both sides, a black ground wire, and it's on the end of one of the three different positions. So as long as you match up the black ground wire on my harness to the black ground wire on the factory wiring harness, you're connecting it properly. So once you get it the individual harnesses connected, we need to run the larger harness, which is going to bring the fault sense wire. One fault sense wire here, one fault sense wire here. Now the best way to do that is to get under the truck, and you can slide the wiring up into this behind the housing here, and then you can connect that to the individual harness that I have. I also recommend probably dropping the spare tire to work with, because it'll be easier when you're running your wiring across. So you're going to run the passenger side wiring is going to be longer, and it's going to come across, and you're going to meet with the driver's side wiring, and then you're going to run it all the way down to the front of the truck. Behind the front tire is a connector, and that's where we're going to pin the wiring to. That's where it picks up the wiring, the factory wiring. And you're going to run the existing wiring, just follow the factory wiring. The factory wiring is going to go all the way up there. We're going to follow it all the way up there. So next I'm going to show you, we'll take a quick peek. I'll show you the connector, and I'll show you how to unlock it and how we're going to pin to it. So that is the connector right there. So I'm going to show you now how we're going to unlock that and pin to it. Alright, so once we're under here, first thing, we want to take a little trim tool, and we can pop this right off. So now that we have this off, and I should recommend make sure you disconnect the battery before you start messing with any of this wiring. On the back side here, hopefully you guys can see right here, there's a little red tab here. We want to kind of pull back on it this way, and then this lever, we're going to push the lever forward, and we're going to slide this lever all the way back, and now these two connectors should come apart. So this is the connector that we're going to pin the wiring to, and as you'll see, the wiring that comes out of it is going to run towards the back. The first thing we have to do is take this cover off the back side, and don't do what I did, and I broke mine. But there's a spot here, you should be able to push it in and then pull this tab up, and then you can pop the tab right off. So if you see on the cover here, if you can see, this little piece here, this protrudes out, and it's here, and there's a slot for it to sit in, and that's what keeps it locked into place. And I broke the little piece of plastic here, so try to avoid doing that if you can. So once we have that cover off, that's just going to allow us to be able to pin the wiring to the back side here a lot easier, but we still need to unlock this connector. So if I flip it here and you look in here, you should be able to see is a purple tab right here, and this is, I recommend kind of getting like a flathead screwdriver, kind of get behind it, and what we're gonna do is just kind of push it or attempt to push it. Let's see. Yep, there we go. So, and then just, you can hear it click. So basically, what I did was I pushed it this towards the other end of the connector, and it slides over. It's a bit, you don't see it because it's hidden behind it, but it's a larger piece, and when the whole thing slides this direction, it unlocks. So now that it's unlocked, we can pin the wiring. So, and this is pretty difficult because there's a lot of wires back here, but you want to locate your positions, and these positions are labeled. They're kind of difficult to see, but I should be able to provide you a diagram to help you identify. But basically, I believe it's position 16 and 17, and on here, if you can see this big connector on the end, this red wire, that's 11, and then it's going to count to the left here. So the white, this yellow one on the second row, so it's not the bottom row, it's the row right up above it, that's 12, and then you got 13, 14, and 15. I believe that's it. So I'm just making a correction on what I just said in that video. So position 11, as you can see here on the end, that was the big red wiring, and that was correctly identified as 11. However, you can see here on the second row, the first one is position 19. I believe I indicated that it was 12. It's actually 19, and you may or may not have it populated. Mine was yellow. That was a wire I added. If you have it populated, it would be a beige wire with a white stripe, but it may not be populated. But that would be 19. Then next to it is 18. And next to that is 17 and 16. And those are the two positions we're looking to pin to. You're gonna have to pop. So if it's not populated, there's a plug in there. You're gonna have to pop the plug out. I recommend some kind of pick or some sort. They're kind of hard to get at. But once they're out, then you can pin the wiring in, and the wiring only goes in one way, and it should click once it goes in. But once you're done, then you just got to relock this connector. So I would come back in here and just do the opposite. We want to now push the purple tab back. And actually, I should mention, it's probably easier on the other end of the connector. You'll see another purple piece. It's probably easier to get behind that and pry it, push it, the connector back into the position that it was. Once you have that locked back into place, just reconnect the connector. All right, and then pull the lever all the way down and make sure that it's nice and secure and in place. And then the final thing would be to kind of put the shield, the cover back on the end here, and just make a note here. The other end has these little protruding tabs here. Those kind of go in first because they're going to hook underneath. So what you want to do is get those down and in first, and then you kind of just push the back end down, and then as long as you didn't break the connector like I did, it'll lock. If you did, you shouldn't have too much of a problem. Like I said, mine's broken and it doesn't go anywhere. It still stays on, so it shouldn't be a big deal. And then once you have that on, just pop it back into place, and that's pretty much it. As far as the installation goes for the wiring harness.